Rural voters. What do you wish you could explain to urban voters? We don't always have the option to have public transport. I live in a village that has a school bus. And the nearest train station is 7 kilometers away. How am I supposed to use public transport that doesn't exist? Instead of voting in favor of less cars, vote in favor of more public transport, better access to alternative modes of transport, i.e., safe bike lanes. That's not really in the country's culture, but it would literally change my life if I could ride a bike to the nearest town over without fearing for my life. No one's going to give up on cars if there are no safe, affordable and accessible alternatives. I'm not in the US. For context, if you live in a city, your vote is worth far less than if you in a rural area. I gotta take 1.5 hours out of my day to vote. It's inconvenient AF. That our problems are different, so we have different voting interests than you. Don't complain about my cows that are keeping the country fed, polluting the environment when you drive a car and live in a city where you can taste the smog. I don't think city folk should have that much say on what should and shouldn't go in the rural areas, because I feel like 90% at least city folk haven't even seen a wild animal. It's easy to vote for stuff like Green New Deals, less cars. Just use the bus when you live in a big city. But in the rural areas that bus might not be an option. My point is that city life is totally different from rural life. And if people who don't understand living in rural areas probably don't think why this or that issue is important because they don't have to deal with it themselves. So politically cities have way more power because there are obviously more people living in cities. But that doesn't mean that the rural people's way of living is bad. It's actually probably more necessary than anyone living in a city. But for some reason city people seem to know better for everyone because they really don't know better. I live in a small suburb city now, but I grew up in the boonies and I still have my country gal mentality even though I married a city boy and moved to where he wants to be. Rural existence breeds a self-reliance mindset for a reason. Public safety is a great way to explain this. The fire department is often volunteer and farther away, so the response time is a lot longer. Because of both of those factors, the only law enforcement is the sheriff's office. Like, the SIR in my hometown doesn't have enough deputies on at one time to guarantee that one is always 5 minutes away from any possible hot call. If they get a bad accident at the ass end of the county taking up all your manpower, then get a shooting on the other end in the middle of witness statements. You have to not only pull people from the one to go to the other, but it could take them 20 minutes to get there. Easy. And that's going north-south where there's an interstate to facilitate east-west. Good luck. Let me give you a very specific example though. I have a friend who works for a small town police department. Said friend and another cop showed up to a house fire on the edge of town to find an elderly couple trapped in the house because both were too disabled to move without assistance. They drag this couple out of the house and about a minute later, the room they were in goes up in flames. Before the local fire department showed up. If that couple lived just a few streets over, where the SO has jurisdiction instead of the town, there's a good chance deputies don't get there with enough time to get him out. The FD only took 10 minutes to respond. Which is amazing because I'm pretty sure it's a VFD. But that room was already on fire when they showed up. I haven't gotten into all the distrust of government that's prevalent in rural communities. Especially among families like mine where you got a bunch of Appalachia folk mixing with native folk. in a state where no tribes were federally recognized until *2015. We don't enjoy seeing something get more powerful when we distrust it inherently.